Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to graph square root equation of the form y equals a square root of x minus h plus k. Before we jump into an example, let's sketch the parent graph of square root function first. So this is the parent equation of a square root function y equals square root of x. And suppose these are our values for x. We're going to pick these three numbers that we have here since these are perfect square. So then we go ahead and plug this x values into this equation right here to solve for y. So pretty much like to solve for y, that would be y equals the square root of 4 would be 2. So we can go ahead and write the value of 2 right here. And then y equals square root of 1. So this is 1 right here. And y equals the square root of 0 would be a 0. And we don't get a negative values here because if we get the square root of a negative value, it's not gonna work. So these are all the positive numbers here. Now others are going to say, why is it that you did not pick 2 and 3 here? Why did you jump all the way to 4? The reason that we do that because 4 is a perfect square. Although we can write 2 and 3 here, but it's going to give us a decimal value. So we just keep it as a whole number. We pick 4 right here. So then we are ready to sketch the graph for this. So we have 0 and 0. So this is the first point. And then the second point would be 1 and 1. So that's 1 and 1 right here. So this is our second point. And we have 4 and 2. So we go to 4, then we go to 2. So this is our third point. So if we are going to connect this points right here, we would be able to create the parent graph of a square root function. So this one right here is the parent graph of a square root function, and this is the parent equation of a square root function. We're going to use this table that we have here in order that we can graph a square root equation of this form right here. Now let's take this first example. So we're supposed to sketch the graph of y equals 2 square root of x minus 3. Before we fill this table in, let's answer these questions that we have at the bottom first. So the h value for this would be 0. So because it doesn't have any h value, so our h is 0. And our k is negative 3. So then our locator point, which is hk, that would be 0, negative 3. And the graph is vertically stretched. So I'm just going to write the word stretched here. The reason why this is vertically stretched because our a is greater than 1. So we're now ready to fill this table in. I'll give you the trick on how to graph this equation that we have here using 2 steps. The first step is to use the equation in graphing form and the table of values from the parent graph to complete the table of values of the translated graph. So what I'm trying to say here is that we fill this table in. So the trick here is that we are supposed to use this value that is pretty much this is x plus 0. We're going to put that in this column. So I'm going to write x plus 0. And then the value that we put into this column that we have here, we will use this 2 right here. So whatever the a, you write it down first. And then we are going to multiply it with the y value that we have on this side right here. And then we put the k value. That's it. That's a negative 3. So pretty much like if we go over this problem here, that would be first we have 4. So 4 plus 0 would be 4. And then x is 1. So 1 plus 0 is 1. And then we have 0 plus 0 is 0. Again, I got this from this one right here. So this one comes from that part right there. So then we're now ready to show the work for this. So that would be, so I'm just going to show the work down here. So that would be 2, and then we put in the y value minus 3. That's 2. We put in the y value minus 3. 2. We put in the y value minus 3. Again, we're ready to put the y value in. So the y value that we put into this are the values of y in the second column of the table from the parent graph. So that would be 2 right here. This would be 1, and this would be 0. So what I did was I put those values into the y. So then if we do the math here, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 minus 3 is 1, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 minus 3 is negative 1, and then 2 times 0 is 0 minus 3 is negative 3. The second step is to sketch the graph using these values that we have here from step 1. So then we go ahead and plug this into the graph. So first we have 4, 1. So that would be 4 right here, and then we go up 1. So this is the point. And then the second point is 1, negative 1. So that would be 1 and then negative 1 right here. And then the third point is 0 and negative 3. 0 and 1, 2, 3. This is negative 3. And this is our graph for this equation right there. So I'm just gonna write the graph right there, and I'm gonna label this as y is equal to 2 square root of x minus 3. So this is the graph for this equation right here. You will see on the side the Desmos version for this graph, and you will see that these 3 points are actually part of the graph. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own, and when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we go over the problem here. We start with step 1. Use the equation in graphing form and the table of values from the parent graph to complete the table of values of the translated graph. So what are we going to do is we're going to use this first. I'm going to put that in here. So we always switch this. So that would become x minus 2. So that's x minus 2. And then for this column right here, we're supposed to use the a. So we're going to write the a first. That's a negative 3. Then we put in the y value. And then we write the k here is 0. So we can just go ahead and add 0 to this. But we don't really need to add 0. Any number added with 0 is the same number. So then we fill this table in first. So that is 4 minus 2 would be 2. And then 1 minus 2 is negative 1. And then 0 minus 2 is negative 2. And then I'm going to show the work on the side here for this column right here. So that would be negative 3. Then we put in the y plus 0. Negative 3, put in the y plus 0. Negative 3, put in the y plus 0. So the y values that we're going to put in here would be 2. And then I put in the 1 and put in the 0. So we're just going to do the math here. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 plus 0 is just negative 6. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. And then negative 3 times 0 is 0. So then we go ahead and move on to step 2, which is to sketch the graph using the table of values from step 1 that we have completed right here. So then we go ahead and graph this. That's 2 and negative 6. So that would be on 2 down negative 6 right here. And then we have negative 1 and negative 3. So that would be negative 1 and then negative 3 down here. And then we have negative 2 and 0. Negative 2 and 0. So it's going to be right here. So this is how the graph is going to look like. So I'm just going to draw that right here. And so we can label this as y is equal to negative 3 square root of x plus 2. So that's the equation right there. Let's answer these questions that we have right here. Our h for this is switch. That would be a negative 2. And then our k is 0. So then the locator point is negative 2, 0. And then the graph is vertically stretched because the absolute value of a is greater than 1, which is 3. Now on the side, you will see the Desmos version for this graph, and you will see that these 3 red points are actually part of the graph. Did you get the same answer as this? Good. Perfect. Now let's move on to the next example right here. At this time, I would encourage you to pause this video and try this problem out on your own. And when you're done, unpause it and check your answer. Okay, so we move on to the first step. Use the equation in graphing form and the table of values from the parent graph to complete the table of values of the translated graph. So what are we going to do here is that we are going to use this. We put it to the first column right here, but we are going to switch the values. So instead of x plus 3, this would become x minus 3. And then right here on this second column right here, we're going to use this. That's going to be the a. So negative 1/4 is actually negative 0.25. And then we put in the y. And then we add the k plus 5. So I'm just going to add 5 here. So then we're ready to fill this in. So first, that would be 4 minus 3 is 1. And then 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then 0 minus 3 is negative 3. And so we fill this in. So that would be negative 0.25. Then we put in the y plus 5. Then negative 0.25. Put in the y plus 5. Negative 0.25, put in the y plus 5. So then again, the y values that we're putting in would be 2, 1, and 0. So we do the math here. Once we multiply all these, that's negative 0.25 times 2 is a negative 0.5 plus 5 is a positive 4.5. And then negative 0.25 times 1 is negative 0.25 plus 5 is 4.75. And then 0.25 times 0 is 0 plus 5 is 5. So then we're ready to plot this in. So 1 is 4.5. So I go ahead and go 4.5 is right here. And then we have negative 2 is positive 4.75. So it's going to be right here. And then negative 3 is 5. So negative 3 would be all the way to 5. Okay. So then we can go ahead and sketch the graph. It's going to go this way. This graph will have an equation of y equals negative 1/4. That's the square root of x plus 3 plus 5. Now let's fill this blank in. So our h is negative 3 because you switch it. Our k is a positive 5. So then our locator point is this one, negative 3, 5. So that's negative 3 and 5. And the graph is vertically compressed because the absolute value of a is less than 1. So it's vertically compressed. On the side, you will see the Desmos version for this graph, and you will see that these 3 red points that we have here are actually part of the graph. Did you get the same answer as this? Good. Perfect. If you find this video helpful, hit like and subscribe for more math videos. See ya!